Believe it or not, I spent way too much of my life focusing on how to glow up, but it was having me focus in all of the wrong areas. It led to a lot of insecurity. I had very low confidence, and all that really did was lead me to endless nights on Pinterest, on YouTube, and Googling for ways to glow up. But the reality is, everything I found was only talking about how to physically glow up. And as much as there's definitely things you can do to glow up physically, I think it is just about time that somebody created the ultimate glow up guide from within to help you live your best life ever and have your best year ever. So that's exactly what we're going to do here today in this ultimate guide to your glow up of 2024. And I think if you focus on these 6 things, you're honestly going to have so much momentum in the right direction of becoming exactly who you want to be that the rest will sort of just start to fall into place. So if you're new here, my name is Tessa Bella, aka Billion Dollar Bella, and I'm your rich big sis on a mission to help you live your best soft girl life. And what that means is that we're making money, we're managing it, we're multiplying it, and we are the absolute best version of that girl. So I'm going to dive in to the 6 things that you should be doing if you want to have the ultimate glow up in 2024. First things first is you have to define who she is. If you want to become a different version of yourself, you need to get to know her. I'm not trying to just talk like I'm in third person or multiple personalities over here, but really if you aren't clear on who she is, how are you going to step into that version of her? The other thing that's fun about this piece of the exercise is you might start to realize that there are elements of you who are already exactly that girl. So I challenge you to first define who she is. Think about every single category. And now, of course, it's fun to get into the weeds a little bit with the materialistic items of it, like thinking about what kind of car she drives and all this stuff. But most importantly, do not skip over the things like how does she react to a challenging situation? Or how does she interact with her best friends? How does she interact with her family? How do people treat her? What kind of mindset does she have every day? What kind of routines does she practice? Those kind of things are really important to know about who you want to become, because you're going to have a much easier time working towards that person when you understand who she is. And when I'm saying she, I'm referring to that girl. I'm referring to the best, most grown up version of yourself. I want you to define it so well that you feel like you know her, and more importantly, that she feels like your absolute bestie, because newsflash, she is, and she is you. So it's a really fun exercise to do. I know it can feel a little crazy. Maybe it sounds a little crazy to you, but it is super important to understand who you're working towards being. The second thing that you need to do to have the ultimate glow up is an exercise that I call the Wheel of Life. Now, if you were to go and Google the Wheel of Life, there are multiple ways that this can be explained, but this is what works best for me. So I'm going to explain it to you, and then you can put your own twist on it if you want to. I operate my Wheel of Life off of 8 different categories, and I'll pop it up on the screen for you so you can see that it actually makes a true circle or wheel of life. But those 8 different categories are going to be your personal life / personal development, business, family, friends, spirituality, financial, mental health, and physical health. So those are 8 different categories. And the exercise is this. You go one by one through each of those categories, and you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 for how good you feel about that area. How fulfilled is it? Do you feel successful in that area? Have you made progress in that area? And this gets really fun when you start to do it for months consecutively, because you're able to look back, say 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months down the road and see some of the progress that you've made in other areas. But the reason that this is really so important is that a lot of times we get hyper fixated in one area of our life. Say, for instance, your finances. You get super hyper fixated, good or bad, in that area of your life. And as a result, sometimes other areas can begin to suffer. We see this a lot with people who get hyper fixated on, say, their careers. And when you get hyper fixated on your career and you're pouring everything into it, it's easy for another area of your life to start to feel depleted. You're maybe not putting as much time towards your physical health or your relationship or your friendships. And I know it can feel like a tall task at times to put enough effort and energy into growing all of these areas of your life. But I think that's why it's even more important to focus on really drawing out what these different ratings are for each area. So you're gonna go onto your wheel and give yourself a rating, 1 through 10, 10 being the absolute best, I'm crushing it in this area, 1 being like, I seriously need some help. And once you've marked that on your wheel of life, you're gonna go and actually connect all of the different numbers. So you'll do this little drawing, and what you will find is probably a pretty wonky wheel. Just like a wheel on a bicycle, if you had a wheel that was all bumped in different areas and dented in one and missing a spoke in another, it would be pretty hard to ride that bike and actually make progress moving forward. The same thing is true with your life. If you have one area that's drastically depleted, you could still probably get to move forward pretty slowly, but it's not going to go nearly as quickly as you want or need it to towards the goals that you've set. So I think this exercise is extremely helpful, especially when mapping out really where you want to go in these different areas. Tip number 3, or exercise number 3 that you need during this ultimate glow up is to sit down and write out every single goal that you have. Now, I want you to set a target for yourself to write out at least 100 goals. I know that may sound like a lot, but think of these goals as only what you're working towards within 2024. So make them something that is reasonable to get to within this calendar year. Once you've done that, you're gonna go back in with those same colored highlighters, or however you wanna mark the colors that really related to your wheel of life, and you're gonna highlight them to see how they correspond with each category. So for example, if you were talking about your finances, let's just say that you selected the color green. I'm gonna take my green highlighter, go back to my list of 100 goals, and highlight everything that has to do with my finances. What this is gonna do is give me a really good visual representation of where I'm directing my time, effort, and energy for the year. This is also gonna give you a good idea of which things you might need to make sure you put a little extra time into because they were low on your goals or priorities so far. Now that we've done that, I want you to hone in on just choosing 3 goals. Once you've selected your 3, it's time to hyperfixate on those for just the next 90 days. And I promise you, if you do exactly this, you will reach that goal. Obviously within reason, right? We're not being crazy here, but we're setting big goals that we can work towards. What I want you to make sure and do is that you spend time actually scheduling this into your calendar. However it relates to your goal, you need to schedule that into your calendar. If you do not schedule it in, the chances of you completing it go down drastically. I want to say it's like 35% decrease in the likelihood of you actually doing it if you don't schedule it in. So be proactive, schedule it in. One thing I have found is just about everyone who's got their real life together, they've got some kind of calendar. They are organized, they are structured, they are really keeping things mapped out so that they've got a high level of responsibility around the things that they've set out to accomplish. Tip number 4 for your ultimate glow up is all about your self-talk. Now, if you have negative self-talk, it can be extremely hard to break. That is coming from a girl who naturally defaults to negative self-talk. I always thought it was great to just be like the self-deprecating humor kind of person. And so I would always tell these just awful jokes that was very self-deprecating. And what that led to was a lot of negative self-talk. But there is nothing more important than the way that you speak to yourself and the way that you speak about your life. And so the most obvious way to start shifting this is definitely through your affirmations. I think a way to make sure that you stick to affirmations and really make them stick in your life is to attach some sort of habit stacking. A habit stack is really just, oh, this is something I'm going to do every day. So wake up, brush your teeth, drink your water, whatever the obvious things that you do always, try to stack that with a habit that you're trying to get used to doing. So that's another great thing. If you're trying to, let's say, get used to gua shaing your face in the morning, that would be a great thing to incorporate when you take your morning shower or when you do your morning skincare or right after you brush your teeth, because there's something that you're already doing. Just attach something you want to be doing to that as well. And that's what habit stacking really is. It helps you to build more positive reinforcement around things that you want to start doing. Now, the fifth thing that is so important in your ultimate glow up is that you are going to write your year in review. Much like the Wheel of Life exercise, this is another thing that I think is super fun, and it's a great thing to layer onto like a vision board or anything that you're doing to set your goals. But this is writing your year in review, and you don't have to only do this at the beginning of the year. You can do it at any point, but think about your life 1 year from today. What does that look like? What has changed? How are you reacting to things? Who is in your life? Who isn't in your life? What does your bank account look like? What do all of these different things look like 1 year from today? Now, instead of writing it in future tense, I want you to sit down and write all of those things, but as if they have already happened. Write them from this really grateful point of view and just think about truly getting into the mindset of as if those have already happened. So go back to those 3 goals we talked about and use this as an opportunity to write all about in great detail how much you love that those things have already happened and that you had such a great time on the journey of accomplishing them. As you write this year in review, remember to think about step number 1 of this video. Who was that girl? How is she acting in that moment? How does she feel now that she has accomplished those different goals or those things that you set out to reach? Once you can write from that perspective, again, you're starting to kind of close the gap between where you are currently and where you want to be once you accomplish those things. The more that we can shrink the space in between those, before you know it, you will have those 2 things married, and those goals will quickly become your reality, along with becoming exactly that version of yourself. And the very last and final thing, a part of this ultimate glow up guide, is to focus on loving her, getting to know her, and showing her off as much as possible. So I know it can sound a little silly, but as you started to write out what that version of you looks like and how she is and who she is, I want you to think about honoring her all the time. Think about her throughout the day, use her in your affirmations, journal about it, incorporate this into your life in as many different ways as possible, because again, we're shrinking the distance between your current reality and what you want your reality to be. The closer that we can get those, the faster that we can get to our goals. And I think that these 6 things will not only help you achieve that much faster, this is sort of a summarized version of like a quantum leaping that much closer to the life that you want and the person that you want to be. But the sooner that we can do that, we also start to experience this total life glow up. And as I mentioned, glowing up is so much less about the physical appearance and all of the things that you can do to yourself physically, and so much more important to relate to how we feel inside and what we are doing to make sure that we're taking care of the mental aspects, the emotional aspects, and every single piece of that wheel of life. So I hope that you guys found this helpful in the ultimate guide to glowing up in 2024. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments, and thank you so much for watching.